New, simple, and efficient gas farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This farm is extremely cheap and easy to build, and it works like magic. As soon as the gas spawn, they basically get teleported directly into the kill chamber, meaning that you get really good rates. This is also a modular farm, so you can start off small and then upgrade and expand later to get better rates. This farm is designed to work on all worlds, realms, and servers, and on any simulation distance, so no matter where you play, you can build this and get a ton of gunpowder. This simple and reliable farm produces over 3,800 gunpowder per hour, over 2,000 gas tiers per hour, or over 5,800 items per hour in total. To put that in perspective for you, every hour that you use the farm, you're gonna get this entire double chest of gunpowder and all of this stuff up here as well. As I mentioned, this is a modular build, so this is one full-scale size build on one side, and that'll get you about 1,900 gunpowder per hour and a whole bunch of tiers. But of course, you can double this to get the full 3,800 gunpowder per hour. Now, you might think that building a giant gas farm over a lava lake is a bad idea, but I'll be showing you a simple trick to prevent all mob spawning in this area while you're building, essentially turning this into a peaceful zone. That way you don't need to capture any gas or use invisibility potions while building, which is going to make your life a lot easier. You might recognize this build from my popular gas farm from a couple of years ago, but this is actually a new and improved and upgraded version of that older design. So now it is significantly cheaper. The previous design had 80 hoppers per side and 16 kill chambers. This one has 2 hoppers and 1 kill chamber, so it is much easier to build and it is significantly cheaper. It's also got a couple of refinements in it, that way it's more reliable. All the minecarts are locked into place so they can't fall down and break the farm. This farm is also less laggy because it has less hoppers, and we're also destroying the experience, meaning that's not going to build up and lag out your world. And we have a refined Trident killer that is relog proof, so you don't have to worry about it breaking over time. So how the system works is really straightforward. Basically, whenever a mob touches a minecart, is going to get into that minecart. Now, ghasts, as you probably know, are extremely large marshmallows. So if these guys spawn within a couple of blocks of a minecart, then they'll just automatically get into it. So one minecart can cover an entire 5x5 area. And if this minecart is sitting on an activator rail and that rail is powered, it's actually going to kick the mob out as soon as the mob gets in there. So what this does is it actually kicks the mob upwards. So if we put a guy on this little tester platform, as you can see, he's just going to go straight up incredibly quickly. And this is just a lovely mechanic that hopefully they never break. Even if the gas spawns all the way down there on the far corner, it still takes barely any time for them to get to the kill chamber. So that's how we're sending the gas vertically. And the last design I did, it just had Trident killers at the top of each one of those vertical elevators. However, we could also send them horizontally. So if we get in ourselves a gas right here, as you see, they just go really quickly horizontally. And this is what I put at the top of the new build to get them into a singular Trident killer. Now, these minecart zippers want to send mobs in a single direction, and that is east. So all of our Trident killers are going to be on the eastern side of the farm, but that's fine. So this amazing minecart zipper trick was discovered by Groova Guy. You can find a link to their video down below. Huge thanks to Groova yet again for this tech that made this farm possible. So using this farm is really simple and easy. You just stand right in the middle of these 4 glass panes right here that locks you in place and make sure the entire farm is loaded. After that, you simply flick the lever to turn on the Trident killers, and then you stand here while you hold a looting 3 sword, and that really is all there is to it. You don't need to do anything else at all. Now, if you leave the area or log out of the game while the farm is running, there is a chance that your Trident could fall down. So if you notice that your lamp is on but your gas are not dying, it's actually really easy to fix your Trident killers. Basically, you just go ahead and turn off your lamp, wait for a couple of seconds, log out of the game, and then rejoin. So now that we've relogged, we can simply go ahead and turn on our lamp, and that should start killing our gas, and our Trident killer is fixed and good to go, as you can see there. So yes, relogging can break your Trident killer, but you can also just relog again to fix it. So super easy. Now, there's still the bug where Tridents can fall through the world, which is why I only wanted 2 Trident killers instead of 32, and there's just really nothing I can do about that besides getting hired at Mojang. But I've made it easier for you guys to replace any mysteriously lost Tridents. So if there's a ghast in here, which there usually is, you can either just kill it, or you can throw your Trident up here, flick the trapdoor, and then it will fall down. It's also a safe spot to stand, so we have blocks inside the ghast heads. So yes, you can stand up here in survival and this guy isn't going to shoot at you. There is one downside to this new and improved design, and that it's about 20% slower than the previous concept. And that's mostly because we're using 2 kill chambers instead of 32. And we're also using 4 hoppers instead of about 160. So the farm is overall about half as expensive to build. It is less laggy, it is more reliable, and it is easier to build. However, all those bonuses come at the cost of slightly lower rates, but this farm is still really good, and it's going to produce more gunpowder than you know what to do with. If you'd like these kind of Bedrock tutorials, then drop a like, share them around the video, and maybe subscribe. I got a lot more Bedrock tech on the way that you don't want to miss. And let's hop into the tutorial for this build. Starting with the materials list, you're going to need everything in this chest right here, along with a bunch of additional redstone for the additional redstone lines. If you're building 2 modules, you're going to need a way to find your direction inside the nether, some tridents, and a looting 3 sword. You're also going to need 114 minecarts per module, and you should definitely bring in some extra building blocks and other materials, that way you can build your way around the farm. And of course, you'll also need basically an entire chest of slabs. You might want to use 2 different types of slabs, that way it's easier to build. There's a complete materials list down in the description of the video. I'd highly recommend that you check it out. There's also going to be a world download on my website, silentwisperer.com, so you can download it, check it out, and see exactly how everything is built. The first thing that you need to do is find a good location to build. You are looking for a soul sand valley biome over a large lava lake like this one right here. You can tell if it's a soul sand valley because it'll have this nice blue fog. And this is basically what it looks like if you don't have any night vision. Soul sand valleys also have these dark ash particles falling through the air. You can see them. They're little tiny, like basically little black specks. Basically, you're looking for the biggest lava lake in a soul sand valley that you can find. Ideally, you want to have, 40 blocks in every direction from the middle of the lava lake. That way you don't need to spawn proof everything. Picking a good location is completely necessary because you do not want to have to spawn proof a bunch of the nether. So take the time, find yourself a good lava lake to build in. You can make this a lot easier by going to the website chunkbase.com, going to their seed map, and then inputting your world seed and Bedrock edition, and then selecting the nether. This will show you a map of the entire nether around you, and you can put in your coordinates down here at the bottom. So basically, each one of these big brown, blobs is a soul sand valley biome. So you can look at this map, find out which one of these biomes is the biggest, and then go visit those in your survival world or in a creative copy, and find out which one of those has a massive lava lake for you to build in. Exploring the nether naturally could take hours, so just use chunkbase, you'll save a lot of time. Once you found a suitable lava lake, we need to go up to Y level 78, and we're going to build ourselves a couple of small platforms, just out of temporary non-spawnable blocks like some glass. So you should be standing at Y level 78, and you might have guessed it, but these are chunk markers. So each one of these is the outline of a chunk. There's a ton of different ways to find chunk borders on Bedrock. You can find a tutorial on how to do that in the description and in the iCards as well. Basically, all you need to do is mark out these 4 chunk borders at Y level 78. That is north, and this is going to be going to the south. To check your directions, place down a sunflower on a piece of dirt. These always face to the east, so if you turn left, that is going to be north. And of course, if we check this with our chunk border resource pack, you can see the chunk borders are going right between our markers here. So this is really simple, and we're going to be AFKing right in the middle of this platform. So count in 8 blocks from the edges. This 2x2 is the exact middle of this whole platform. And then we're going to be standing in between these glass panes to lock us in place. And this is the AFK spot for the entirety of the build. So we're going to be building one side of this farm together. The farm is basically exactly the same on both sides. So once I show you how to build one side of this farm, you will know how to build the other side. And you can double it at any time you want. You can start off small and go big later. Now, before you start building things, I would highly recommend that you install a local mob switch. This will completely prevent all mobs from spawning in the area and make your life so much easier. I have a dedicated tutorial for how to do that, but basically what you do is you get some chickens, you put some oozing on them, you kill them, you name tag the medium ones, and then you kill those. And as long as you have 16 of these small baby slimes, then you'll have a local mob switch and nothing will spawn while you're building. And now we can finally start building installing the spawning platforms. So we're going to go to the north edge of our chunk border markers that we have here. Yet again, double check that this is the north side. This should be facing to the east, of course. So this bar right here should be 16 blocks wide and lined up with your chunk border. And we can double check that once again with our chunk border resource pack. So in the middle of this bar, I've marked out the 2 center blocks. So each one of these is 8 blocks from the edge. So on the left side of this, we're going to place in a solid block right there. And then we're going to place in a solid block right there. Now, this entire farm is constructed out of 5x5 platforms of upper slabs. So we're going to place in a few lines of slabs on either side of this bar. So that is the first 5x5 right there. And then on the other side, we're going to do the same exact thing. So that's going to be our little bar of slabs, and then another extension on this side. Now, this entire thing is going to be 10 platforms wide, so we need an additional 4 5x5s going in that direction, and another 4 in that direction as well. Now, each one of these 5x5s is going to have a solid block in the middle of it. So we're going to put one on that corner and one on this corner as well. And that is our first 4 platforms installed. Again, this needs to be a total of 10 wide. And that is what our first 10 platforms should look like. As you can see, each one of those is a small little 5x5, and each one of these is going to have a torch on them in front of your solid block. Now, I'm alternating slab type just to make it easier for you to count, but you can just build all these out of the same type of slab. So this is going to be the ground layer of your floor. We're going to have 1 layer above this, and then we're going to have 3 additional layers below it as well. So you need to build this layer and the layer above it. And then if you want to, later on, you can add in the lower layers. Those are optional, but you have to build in the ground and the top of the farm in order for it to be functional. So now that we have these 10 little platforms installed, we need to double this. So we're going to add in another 5 platforms behind it. So it's just going to be lined up with these same ones, and it's just going to be a bunch more little 5x5s going behind them. And this is what it looks like when you have all 20 of those installed. This makes up 1 complete spawning platform. We're going to be building 4 more of these basically. And now it's time to get the spacings right for all the other layers of your farm. So each platform is going to have 4 blocks between them, and then of course the little gap for where the slabs are. So the very top platform of your farm is going to be at Y level 83. Your second platform down is going to be at Y level 73. This is also identical to the middle one. Going down again, it's a Y layer 68. And then the very bottom platform is at Y level 63. Now, getting down there in survival might be kind of a pain. Maybe you can pillar up from like a little island down there, or you can try going down some vines, or you can drink a fire resistance and drop some lava over the edge and swim down that. There's a few different options for you. So your top platform, your middle, and the one right beneath it are all identical, so just go ahead and get those built up. And that is your top 3 platforms done. So your bottom 2 platforms are going to be basically identical. However, the only difference is we're going to be chopping off the very corner one right here, since that's going to be out of range and nothing will spawn. So chop off that far edge and this far edge right here. And then for the very, very bottom one, you don't need any solid blocks in the floor, so you can just put in a slab right there. But otherwise, these 2 platforms are the same size and shape. And this is what the full farm should look like. So this is the bottom 2 platforms. As you can see, we just got rid of that very corner cell that's right there. And of course, the bottom platform doesn't have any solid blocks in the floor of it. And now it's time to install all of the minecarts. So each one of these solid blocks that we have in the middle is going to get a minecart above it and a lever on top of the solid block. So we're going to start at the very bottom of the build. So we don't have any solid blocks in the floor, meaning that we're not going to have any levers because there's nothing beneath it to power. So we're simply going to start by looking at the ceiling right here, placing yourself a temporary block and then a glass in front of it, underneath it, and behind it. Place in yourself an activator rail. This has to be an activator rail. You cannot use any other type of rail. Place in a minecart right on it, and now you're basically done. So this should be lined up with your torch right here, and it should be going towards your AFK spot in the middle, basically. So this activator rail is going to be getting powered by the lever above it, as you can see there. That's going to make the minecart shake. So you need to go around this entire bottom level and install your temporary block, and then your 3 glass blocks, put in your rail and your minecart, and then do that for the entire bottom level. Do that for every other level going up. The very top level is going to be different, so don't do that one quite yet. And of course, as you're going through this place, make sure that you place in your levers and flick them. That way it powers the minecart below. The minecarts for the top layer are going to be a bit different since they need to eject into the zipper line that takes them to the kill chamber. So place in a temporary block above your lever, and then we need a couple of glass blocks pointing towards the center of the platform. We're going to get in another couple of glass blocks right here, and then one above it for this kind of C shape. And then we need in our activator rail and a minecart. Now, the lever can go on the top there, or it can go on the side. Doesn't really matter which. Now, it's going to be the same thing for the other side, but the C is going to be facing inwards. So temporary block, get your little lip right there of blocks, goes up, and then your roof on it, just like this. Of course, your rail, your cart, and then your lever in there as well. So that's the general shape you should have, and you need to do that for every single one of these cells going across. Also, you might think that the minecart has a chance of actually getting nudged out of here and falling down, but in my testing, that never happens because the gas actually get placed right here on this block, which nudges the minecart into this wall, so we should be good. So once you have all of your minecarts in place, this is basically what it should look like. As you can see, all the minecarts are in here. They're all shaking and wiggling and having a good old time, and of course, this is what the top should look like as well. Now, while you're here, you can go ahead and replace the glass that is left over in this platform with some slabs, since that's just kind of temporary blocks. And now we're going to install the bar that our zipper sits on top of. So we're just going to go to this edge right here, place in ourselves a couple of temporary blocks, and then a solid block down. So it should be in this general location, and that should be lined up with the back platform, as you can see there. So remove your temporary blocks, and now we're going to install this bar going all the way across the entire length of the farm until it's lined up with our final line of minecarts. And now we're going to have an identical bar, but made out of glass directly above this. So we need to put in 4 temporary blocks right here. And then on the 5th block is going to be a bar of glass. It's going to be the same length as the solid block bar on the bottom. So just go ahead and install that. So now we're going to go to the left side of our northern farm, which should be on the west, of course. Our zippers are always going to be sending mobs to the east, so our kill chamber is going to be at the far end of the farm over there. So we're going to start off by placing in our activator rails. We're going to need one right on this block, and then a 1 block gap, and throughout the rest of the farm, it's always going to be a 2 block gap between these activator rails, and these are going to be going all the way down until you get to the end, and there should be a 1 block gap. Now, underneath each one of these, you're going to need yourself a lever to actually power that, and then you're going to want to get yourself a trapdoor. So you need a trapdoor on either side of this, and just go ahead and flick that upwards so it's vertical, and then put in yourself a minecart. The trapdoors are just there to lock in the minecart. You can't use the glass or anything else, because then the gas could like get stuck on that, and it's kind of weird. So go ahead and do the same build process for every single one of these activator rails. And now you want to go down to the western side of the farm. We're going to place in a torch right here, and then on this minecart, and then basically just every other minecart is going to get a torch on it. This is just to stop skeletons from spawning. Again, your zipper is always going to be sending mobs to the east. So when you're building the northern farm, you're going to start on the left side of the build with your double minecarts. But when you're building the southern farm, your minecarts are going to be doubled up on the west side yet again. So you're going to be building this basically in reverse, because again, your kill chamber is always going to be on that eastern side. So now go to the eastern side of your build, and we're going to install the kill chamber on this side. So we're going to start off by placing in 3 temporary blocks right there. We need a double chest on the end of it like so. 2 hoppers going into it, and then we need in a couple of glass blocks in these 4 locations like so. We're going to leave that block empty for now. You can remove your temporary blocks. Now we're going to go ahead and place in 3 solid blocks up like that with a slab on top of it, and then we need in some lower slabs below it and this kind of 2x2 shape. Get in yourself a solid block there and a slab above it as well. So now we're going to place in our trapdoor. It's going to be going on this block right here. This is where your trident is going to be going, and it should be opening up in this orientation. You also need a grindstone beneath it. Make sure the feet of this are on the glass block below it. If you put it sideways, there's going to be a giant gap in there, and your Trident will just fall down. The grindstone is there. That way, in case your Trident falls down like this, you can simply log out of the game and log back in, and then your Trident will go back on top of your trapdoor, and you don't need to rethrow it manually. And now for the final details, we're going to put a sculk catalyst underneath this block right here. That's just going to destroy your experience, and no sculk is going to spread as long as your ghast die on this block right here. So we're going to go ahead and put in ourselves a piece of rail, get a minecart on that block, and now we need a second minecart in there. So just another rail above it and another minecart right there. Break that block and it should fall straight down in there. We need 2 minecarts, so that way you can hold 2 ghasts, because that is the full mob cap, of course. Now we're going to install a couple extra glass blocks, so just bring this bar over until it's directly above your minecart. 2 more blocks up and then 1 more block over, and this is where your extra trapdoor is going to be going. So if you do need to rethrow your Trident and there just is too many ghasts in here and you can't throw it, you can throw your Trident at that block right there and then flick the trapdoor and it'll fall down through the ghasts and get onto your Trident killer where it should be. Speaking of which, install Trident. Now we're going to put in some redstone, so we just need it in ourselves a comparator on subtract mode, a couple pieces of redstone dust, 1 more right there, and then we're going to get in ourselves a temporary lever to flick that and make sure our trapdoor Trident killer is going. So your ghast farm is now completely done. We just need to install the redstone wire that actually turns it on remotely. That way you can turn it on from your AFK spot. So we're going to go down to the AFK spot and we're going to go over by a couple blocks. Now this is basically just going to be a redstone line. You can build it however you want, as long as when you flick this lever, it turns on your Trident killer up there. So I'm going to place in a redstone lamp. That way you know when it's on. And then we're going to go up by 6 redstone torches in a torch tower. So that's 2 torches, 3, and then 4, 5, and your 6th one right here. We're going to have another block above that and a slab. And then we're going to go out with a line of upper slabs until we line up with that solid block right there, which it looks like we have. And now we're just going to go all the way out until we reach that block. As you can see, we're lined up with it. And now we're just going to go back to the beginning and install the redstone. So you want to flick your lever down here, and then at the top, that's going to turn on this torch, and we're just going to put out a bunch of redstone until we reach the end of this redstone line. As you see, it's turned off right here, so we're just going to place in a couple of solid blocks with a repeater in between it like so to continue on the signal. Now, once you get to this little junction right here, we're going to do the same thing. That way we can send the redstone to the south for the other farm, which you haven't built yet. So another repeater going into the junction, and then you kind of get the idea. We're just going to take this redstone all the way out until it runs out, which is right here. Install ourselves another repeater with some blocks, some slabs above it, and then just keep on running out this redstone until you get to the very end where we need yet another repeater. And as soon as you install that one, that should activate your Trident killer. And of course, you can remove the slabs that are underneath these solid blocks if you don't want them there. So now you can turn on and off your Trident killer from the middle area. And remember to always turn off your Trident killer before you leave the area or log out of the game. Otherwise, your Trident could fall down and you'd have to do the fix. And congrats, your farm is now completely done. I would highly recommend that you build a little bit of a ladder up and then a hallway system. That way you can actually walk over to your chest up here, fully encased, and you can actually access your materials. You could send this out into a complete full storage system if you wanted to. That's really up to you. You'll also want to box in your AFK area. That way nothing can attack you while you're standing there. And then building up the south side is the exact same build process. It's all lined up identically. And of course, you'll need to install another redstone line going over to your Trident killer. So again, that Trident killer is going to be on the east side. And then on the west side of the southern build, you're going to have your doubled up minecarts right here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. There really isn't that much difference. And of course, once you have your farms built and you're all good to go, you can go ahead and destroy your mob switch, and that will allow things to spawn in the area. As you see, as soon as we killed these guys, we got a couple of ghast to spawn immediately. If you enjoyed this Bedrock tutorial, then of course, drop a like, share it around, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.